Level 1, the student pilot. You're sitting in a briefing room at Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas with 49 other second lieutenants who all want the same thing. Fighter assignment. You've been here 11 months. You've flown the T-6 Texan II. You've flown the T-38 Talon. The washout rate is 30%. 15 students from your class are already gone. Failed check rides. Couldn't handle the stress. Your first solo in the T-38 was week 12. The instructor climbed out. You were alone. You taxied to the runway with your hands shaking. You rotated at 140 knots. You were flying a supersonic jet trainer alone. Terror and exhilaration. You've logged 180 hours now. You're ranked 3rd in your class. Track selection is Friday. The instructor starts reading names. Fighter track, F16 Fighting Falcon, Luke Air Force Base, Arizona. He reads 12 names. Yours is 5th. You feel nothing, not relief, not joy. Just the knowledge that the hardest part is still ahead. You graduate UPT on a Wednesday, your parents pin your wings, you're a rated pilot now. The F-16 is called the Viper, single-engine multi-role fighter, in service since 1978, proven in Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. You report to Luke in August. The real training starts now. Level 2, the second lieutenant. Luke Air Force Base sits in the desert west of Phoenix. The flight line is rows of F-16S Block 50S. Block 52 seconds. Sleek. Single tail. Single engine. Bubble canopy. The Viper is smaller than you expected. You start Introduction to Fighter Fundamentals. 8 weeks of learning basic fighter maneuvers in the T-38. 1v1. Offensive. Defensive. You learn energy management. Your first BFM sortie is against an instructor with 3,000 hours. You lose. Badly. He gets behind you and calls guns 3 times in 15 minutes. The debrief is humbling. You study the tapes. You fly again. You lose again, but you last longer. By week 8, you're holding your own. You graduate IFF and start F-16B course. 6 months of learning to fly the Viper. Ground school first. Systems. Avionics. Emergency procedures. The F-16 has a single Pratt & Whitney F110 engine. 29,000 pounds of thrust. Your first flight is in November. You walk to the jet with your instructor. You climb the ladder. You strap in. The cockpit is tight. Reclined ejection seat at 30 degrees. The canopy is a bubble. 360 degrees of visibility. You start the engine. You're cleared for takeoff. You advance the throttle. The jet accelerates. Fast. You rotate at 150 knots. The Viper climbs like it's angry. 4,000 feet per minute. You level at 20,000 feet. You bank left. The Viper responds instantly. You pull back on the stick. 4 Gs, 5 Gs, 6 Gs. The G-suit inflates. You grunt and tighten your core muscles. This is what the Viper does. And it turns. It climbs. It fights. You learn tactical employment. Air to air. Air to ground. You learn to employ the AIM-9 Sidewinder, the AIM-120 AMRA-AM. You learn to drop JDAMs. You fly 200 hours in 6 months. You complete B course in May. You're assigned to Misawa Air Base in Japan. You're mission ready. You're a wingman. Your job is to not screw up. Level 3, the first lieutenant. 2 years in. You've flown 400 hours in the Viper. You're combat ready now. Misawa is in northern Japan. The mission is air defense and deterrence against North Korea and China. You fly training sorties constantly. You deploy to Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar for 4 months. Counter ISIS missions over Iraq and Syria. You fly your first combat sortie in September. Close air support in eastern Syria. You brief at 0500 hours. The Viper is loaded with 2 GBU-12 laser-guided bombs. You start the engine, 4 F-16S in your flight. You're number 4. You take off. You refuel. You continue to the target area, 25,000 feet. The JTAC has troops in contact. They're taking fire from an ISIS position. He passes coordinates. Your flight lead clears you to employ. You roll in, you designate with your laser. You pickle. The bomb releases. 15 seconds later, the building explodes. Enemy position destroyed. Troops are no longer in contact. You've just dropped a bomb in combat. You never saw the enemy, just thermal images and coordinates. The weight settles in later. You fly 37 combat sorties over 4 months. You employ weapons on 14 missions. You see the war from 30,000 feet. It's clean. It's antiseptic. On your 22nd mission, you're supporting a special operations raid. Heavy fire. The JTAC screams for immediate air support. Your flight lead puts a bomb 30 meters from friendly positions. Danger close. The explosion is massive. Enemy fire stops. The JTAC says you just saved lives. You come home in January, your girlfriend is waiting, you've been dating for 3 years. She wants to get married, she wants you to leave the Air Force. You tell her you can't, not yet. She leaves. You don't blame her, this job takes everything. Level 4, the captain. 5 years in, you're a flight lead now, you plan missions, you brief 4-ship formations. You're responsible for everyone in your flight, their training, their execution, their lives. You deploy to Osun Air Base in South Korea for a year. Unaccompanied tour. The mission is deterrence. North Korea has nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. Your squadron sits alert, ready to launch on 15 minutes notice. You pull alert duty once a week. You sleep next to the flight line with your flight suit on. If the alarm sounds, you run to your jet. You've practiced it 100 times. Never had to do it for real, but every time the alarm goes off, your heart rate spikes. You fly along the DMZ, the most heavily fortified border on Earth. North Korean air defenses track you. SA-2s, SA-5s, Russian-made surface-to-air missiles. You stay on your side of the line, barely. The rules of engagement are clear. You can only fire if fired upon. But if they fire first, you might not get a chance to fire back. The tension is constant. You meet someone in Seoul, a teacher. American. She understands the military life. You date for 6 months. You propose. She says yes. But you get married at the base chapel. It's the happiest day of your life. 2 months later, you deploy to Iraq for 6 months. She stays in Korea. This is the life you chose. Level 5, the Major. 9 years in, you're selected for the weapons school at Nellis. Graduate level tactics and employment. 6 months of the hardest flying you'll ever do. You fly twice a day, sometimes 3 times. You learn advanced tactics. You learn how to fight against advanced Russian and Chinese systems. SA-21, S-400, HQ-9. You learn how to survive. The course is designed to break you. The complexity is overwhelming. You're planning large force employment with 40 aircraft, fighters, bombers, tankers, AWACS. You execute. Something goes wrong. It always does. You adapt. You debrief for 6 hours. The instructors tear apart every decision. The washout rate is 15%. You graduate. You're a patch now. A weapons officer. You return to Misawa as the squadron weapons officer. Now responsible for tactics. For training. You've deployed 4 times now. 700 hours in the Viper. Employed weapons in combat 31 times. A Viper from another squadron crashes during a training mission in Alaska. Controlled flight into terrain. The pilot didn't eject. Found the wreckage 3 days later. The pilot was 32, married, 2 kids. The funeral is at Arlington. You attend. You stand in the rain in your dress blues thinking about how thin the line is. All between life and death, between coming home and not coming home. One mistake, one moment of distraction, you go back to work because the mission doesn't stop. Level 6, the Lieutenant Colonel, 14 years in. You're a squadron commander now. The 13th Fighter Squadron. You command 24 pilots and 200 support personnel. 18 F-16s worth $700 million. You deploy to Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan for 6 months. Close air support for coalition forces. You fly over the Hindu Kush Mountains. Troops in contact. Danger close weapons employment. You're dropping bombs within 100 meters of friendly forces. You fly 53 combat sorties. Employ weapons on 37 missions. You also deal with the human cost. A young lieutenant is struggling. PTSD. He keeps seeing faces of people he's killed. Can't sleep. You send him to the flight surgeon. Ground him temporarily. He doesn't want help. He wants to fly. You tell him he can't. Not like this. 6 months later, he comes back better. He thanks you. A maintainer is caught drinking on duty. You relieve him. Another maintainer's wife leaves him while he's deployed. 3 kids. Devastated. You counsel him. This is what command is. Not just flying. It's the people. You're also dealing with jets that are old. Some of these Vipers have been flying since the 1980s. 40 years old. Structural fatigue. Parts shortages. A 90% mission-capable rates with jets that should be in museums. Your maintainers work 16-hour days. Tired, frustrated, undermanned. But they keep the jets flying. You write reports to higher headquarters. Need more parts, more people, more resources. The replies are always the same. Do more with less. Level 7, the Colonel. 19 years in. You're the wing commander now. The 35th Fighter Wing. 3 F-16 squadrons. 72 aircraft. 4,000 people. You're responsible for everything. You fly once a month to maintain proficiency. You miss it. You miss the simplicity of strapping into a Viper. Now your job is meetings, budgets, personnel issues, politics. 2 Vipers collide during a formation training mission. Both pilots eject. One survives with a broken back, one doesn't. His parachute didn't deploy. He hit the ground at terminal velocity. You're the one who knocks on his wife's door at midnight. You're the one who tells her that you hold her while she collapses. The investigation takes a year. Pilot error, inadequate training, supervision failure. The squadron commander is relieved. You take responsibility. You implement new procedures. The media covers it for 2 weeks. They question the safety of the F-16. They question you. You defend your people. You defend your wing. And then you go home to an empty house because your wife is back in the States and you're on an unaccompanied tour, and this job has cost you another relationship. Your daughter is 16. She barely knows you. Your son is in college. He wants nothing to do with the military. He's seen what it did to you, what it did to the family. Level 8, the Brigadier General, 25 years in. You're a 1-star general now. You work at Air Combat Command Headquarters at Langley. You don't fly fighters anymore. Last flight was 8 months ago. You sit in an office. You make decisions about force structure, about modernization, about which fighter wings stay open and which ones close. You attend meetings at the Pentagon. You brief Congress. A major conflict erupts. You deploy fighter wings. F-16S, F-15S, F-35S. You watch from a command center as the war unfolds on screens. 6 F-16S are lost in the first week. 4 pilots killed, 2 captured. You write the letters to their families. You attend the memorials. You present the flags. This never gets easier. The war lasts 2 months. Air superiority achieved. Victory declared. You're awarded a medal. You don't feel like you deserve it. You sat in a command center. The pilots did the work. The pilots took the risks. The pilots died. You're 52 years old. Your body is broken. Compressed spine from ejections. Bad knees from G-forces. Tinnitus from jet engines. You take 5 medications. Your doctor says slow down. You can't. The mission continues. Level 9, the retirement. 30 years in, you retire. The ceremony is at Langley. The 4-star general pins the Legion of Merit on your chest. 30 years of service, 6,000 flight hours, 5 combat deployments, 2,000 combat hours. It sounds impressive on paper. You think about what they don't mention. 3 marriages. First 2 failed, third one hanging on. Barely. Yeah, kids who grew up without you. Friends who died in cockpits. Enemies you killed who you never saw as people. Just targets. Just coordinates. You take off your uniform. You're a civilian. It feels wrong. You've worn a uniform for 30 years. You don't know who you are without it. You take a job with Lockheed Martin as a consultant. The pay is 4 times your military salary. The work is meaningless. You attend air shows. You watch Vipers perform. The pilots are kids. 25, 30. Confident, skilled, fearless. You see yourself 30 years ago. You want to warn them about the cost, about what this life takes, about the pieces of yourself you'll lose. But you don't. They wouldn't listen. You didn't listen when the old guys tried to tell you. You go to reunions. You drink with pilots you flew with decades ago. Some made general. Some flew for airlines. Some didn't make it. You tell war stories, the same stories you've told 100 times. The only people who understand are the people who were there. Your wife asks what you're thinking, you say nothing. You're thinking about the Viper, about the feeling of pulling 6 Gs, about the sound of the engine, about the adrenaline of combat, about the brothers you lost. You're thinking that you'd do it all again, every deployment, every sacrifice, every cost. Because for 30 years you flew the Viper, and nothing in civilian life will ever compare. Level 10, the cycle. Somewhere right now, a second lieutenant is sitting in a briefing room at Laughlin Air Force Base. Track selection day. The instructor is reading names. Fighter track, F-16 Fighting Falcon. The lieutenant hears their name. They feel nothing, just the knowledge that the hard part is ahead. They don't know what's coming. The years of training, the deployments, the combat missions where you drop bombs on people you never see, the friends who won't come home, well, the marriages that fail because the job always comes first, the kids who grow up without you, the body that breaks down, the weight of command, the impossible decisions, the funerals, the letters to families, the cost that compounds over decades. The lieutenant just knows they want to fly fighters. They want to fly the Viper. They want to be the best. They are right to want it. Flying the F-16 is the pinnacle, the ultimate expression of skill and courage and dedication. But the cost is higher than they can imagine, higher than any recruiter mentioned, higher than any briefing covered. They'll learn. Everyone does. Some will thrive. Some will break. All will be changed. The instructor finishes reading names. The room erupts. Celebration. The lieutenant smiles. The journey begins. The cycle continues. The Viper flies on.